Winter in Michigan is beautiful, but it's cold. And I am grateful to have warmth and shelter in our new studio this year, where I have so much to do inside when it's snowy and windy outside. Because our studio is so new, I've been struggling to remember which light switch goes to which light. So I decided to label the switches with some vinyl. I thought it might be fun to use cute pictures instead of boring words this time. So the pot is for the light over the cooking area, the window is for the lights near the windows, and the table is for the light over the dining room table. So far, it's working. I used black adhesive vinyl, but I'm wondering how glow-in-the-dark vinyl might work instead. I'm thinking of trying that on a new set of switches. Thankfully, we have many windows here in the studio for natural light when we can get it. And since our studio is so remote, privacy isn't really a big concern. But there is one room that really needs some window covering, and that's the bedroom. Greg found a company online called Smart Wings that makes custom blinds, and the ones he ordered open and close with the remote control and can also be voice activated. And he says they were so easy to install. It only took him a couple of minutes to put them up, which made him really happy. And I love that I can open and close them wherever I am. As for how well they work, time will tell. I'll let you know when we've had them for a while. In the meantime, I created a new sourdough starter so I can make sourdough bread and treats at the studio. Did you know how easy it is to do this? All you need is a wide mouth jar or container that you can close, plus some flour and water. That's basically it. Once you have a sourdough starter established, you can use it to make bread, as well as baked goods that are better for you and easier to digest. To make a sourdough starter, you just add half a cup of flour. I used whole wheat flour, and a quarter cup of water. I used filtered water from our well. You then mix the flour and water together well, cover your container, and then put the container into a warm location for 24 hours. On the following day, you mix it up and then cover it back up. You should start to see it bubble a bit if it's working, and mine is. On the third day, you remove half of the starter and add in half a cup of all-purpose flour and a quarter cup of water and stir again. And then you cover it and you wait another day. And then you just continue this last step of adding flour and water until a week has passed. That's it. I'm looking forward to trying out my new sourdough starter and sharing what I make with you. While I was in the kitchen, I started working on storing bulk food for my pantry here at the studio. I like to keep extra food on hand in the event of an emergency or lean times. When I'm feeling uncertain about the future, having a good store of food makes me feel a bit more secure. I like to get bulk food on sale and then repack it so it lasts a long time. You might be surprised at how long it can last. Take sugar, for example. If you store it properly, it can last indefinitely. Now, storing it properly is a science. So to store my sugar so it lasts a very long time, I use airtight canning jars. I first wash and sterilize the jars for 10 minutes in boiling water. Then I carefully remove the jars and let them dry completely. This is very important. Once the jars are sterilized and bone dry, I use a funnel to fill the jars, leaving about 1 inch of space at the top. Then I pop in food-grade safe silica gel pad and use a vacuum sealer to seal the jar. I then screw on the ring and I put the airtight jar in my freezer for 3 days to kill off any icky things that might be lurking inside. After the 3 days, I take it out and store it in a cool, dark place. You can do this with many other dry foods. I also did some oatmeal, rice, and wheat. These only needed the oxygen absorbers though, not the silica gel. When stored this way, they can be good for a really long time, like 10, 20, or even 30 years, depending on how airtight, dark, and cool I keep it. Now, I like the glass jars over bigger containers because once they're opened, you really need to consume it, so the smaller containers are more practical. If you have larger amounts of dry foods to store, You can store them in 7 ml thick Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, being sure to seal them well. I use a heat sealer. Then I pop the bags into the freezer for 3 days. After the freezer treatment, I store the Mylar bags in a 5-gallon bucket with a screw-off lid to keep them pest-free. I find I feel better with some basic food stored for a rainy day. And I am grateful to have easy access to food now so I can do this. I get bulk food from places like Costco. I will also be canning our fruits and vegetables from the garden this year for the same reason. Knowing I have food to eat no matter what helps me feel more secure. Plus, doing this means we don't run out of basic stuff when we're cooking. We just use it and replace it as we go along. Even if you're not into food security, getting ingredients that you use often in bulk at a lower price and then packing them for long-term storage is a great way to save money. Now, I initially just used a black Sharpie to label the lids on my jars, which is totally fine, but I had time to make some cute labels. I didn't have any sticker paper with me, but I did have access to a printer. So I just printed out some cute labels that I whipped up in Cricut Design Space, and then I used my Cricut Joy Extra cutting machine to cut them out in perfect 2-inch circles, and then simply glued them on the lids. I love to label things. Of course, packing and labeling ingredients like this means I need a cool, dark place at our new studio to store it properly. So I claimed a roomy closet for my new pantry, and I've started adding shelves. Eventually, this room will have shelves on all 3 walls, so lots of storage. I found these shelves on Amazon, and I love how quickly they go together, considering how strong they are. For now, I've got 1 shelf up, along with a good supply of canned goods and basic necessities. My goal is to have 1 year's worth of food stored, plus some long-term storage of dry food staples, like my sugar, oatmeal, rice, and wheat. This will be an ongoing project, of course, but I must say it makes me feel quite good to be working on it. Once my pantry was started, I turned my attention to the large craft room and workshop in our studio. This room needs storage and work surfaces for teaching and making. I found this antique hutch on Facebook Marketplace for a very good deal. I love its vintage look and all the storage it offers. The seller also had this massive table and 6 antique chairs, so I got those as well. You can never have too much workspace and places to sit. I also moved many of the things from my first studio into this new one, like the Dreambox Center Craft Organizer. I love how it's on wheels and it's so easy to reposition as needed. The shelves I use on either side of it need to go in as well. And then I bought and assembled a new office chair, a pretty white one. Comfortable seating is so important. This is a good start, but I'm not sure if this is the layout I want quite yet. My goal is to have a variety of stations for various activities, and for all of it to be camera friendly so that no matter what I'm doing and where I am, the camera can see it to show you. So this will be an ongoing project too. My goal right now is to get it set up enough so that we can have some craft tea parties in here. We'll be working on the technical aspects of this space in the next few days. Things like lights, cameras, microphones, and computers. I hope to share all of that with you as well. Even if you don't need to set up a studio like this, you might find it fascinating how it's done. After all this, it was nice to just relax near the fireplace. The dogs are settling in, and so are we. There's a lot to do here, but like with any big project, it's important to avoid getting overwhelmed. Every little step we take here at the studio brings us closer to making this space feel like a home. Not just for us, but for the creativity, learning, and sharing we hope to do here for you. Whether it's organizing the pantry, setting up the workshop, or figuring out the best layout for our projects, this is an ongoing journey. And honestly, that's the exciting part. Things don't have to be perfect all at once. We just keep building, adjusting, and making it work as we go along. Thank you for spending the day with me. If you've got any tips for food storage, studio organization, or even ideas for setting up creative workspaces, I'd love to hear them. Leave me a comment. I read every one. And if you're working on your own home studio or creative space, I hope this video gives you some ideas and encouragement to take that next step, no matter how small. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to stay warm, stay creative, and keep making.